Hello and welcome to this edition of the Topical Discussion. I am Simon Kagwanjala, and this morning I'll be joined by the President of the Ecological Party and outgoing Member of Parliament for Kampala Central, Honorable Muhammad Nsereko, for a deep dive into everything 2026 polls. It looks as if the momentum is peaking with, of course, the drama that is unfolding. The drama and the few dynamics playing out. We've just come out of the NRM Delegates Conference, a very chaotic affair. And then on the other side, in the National Inter-Platform, it's all about tears and surprises and shockers. In the vetting process, we're also looking at how other parties are going about the whole thing. Honorable Nsereko, what a pleasure hosting you.
It's an honor and pleasure, and fellow countrymen, good morning from wherever you are.
There is such a big irony that Nsereko joined hundreds in the mad rush for taking nomination forms for the presidency. Hasn't the top seat become such a big joke that every Tom, Dick and Harry is now rushing to pick forms?
Well, I think politics has become attractive, not the top seat alone, but politics as a way of life or as an activity economically and socially has become such an attractive venture for Ugandans to step forward. But also secondly, I can say it offers an opportunity for people to step forward and share ideas such of value so that the country can also come up and say, okay, listen, who is the best for this country?
Yeah, but what kind of spectacle was it? Seeing jokers, comedians, and all manner of people running to pick nomination forms for the presidency.
It's their right. You can't stop them. Whether they are jokers or they are comedians, I mean, you can't stop them. That is the law that we have. Of course, some countries like Singapore have a safety valve for the highest office. I mean, not every Tom, Dick and Harry can pick forms to lead a nation because they have held that position in high esteem. But remember during Toji Kwatako, during the appeasement amendment, they lowered even the age to 18 years. And God knows which 18-year-old can lead a country. It's just a big joke. But you know, it is not typical in many countries, including the former Western world, that an 18-year-old would go and just pick up papers. So we lowered the bar too low, and we made it accessible to everyone. So speaking of nomination forms, some do it for comedy, others do it as a way of expression. It's not final, it's not absolute in itself. Of course, you have to gather signatures, go back, organize yourselves, and probably put up a formidable team to run.
It looked so unpleasant. Do you agree?
It doesn't look a pleasant picture, but that is what we have. It is significant that we see that, so that it paints the picture of what Uganda has become.
What has Uganda become?
You know, when you over-liberalize institutions and you make leadership a bunch of jokers, that is what you get.
Along the way, what have
and let me ask you a question, and it's very simple. I normally ask it from people. In a country where you tell a nursery school teacher to hold a bachelor's, to be a graduate, a head teacher of a primary school to have a master's degree, but it's the same country where you tell a policy maker that to go to the highest office of that land, you only need to be a senior 6 dropout or have an equivalent. What a joke of a nation.
And you being sucked into the joke.
Yeah, because I'm qualified. I'm actually overqualified academically to sit with some of them. And that's why I applaud my sister that it's important for us to hold a debate so that it is a contest of ideas, not a contest of fashions. Like you saw jokers, you saw some coming, you know, like...
wearing shorts.
Wearing shorts, etc. Because that is where our politics has gone. It's no longer a contest of those that have great ideas, but it's now a contest of who can show what to the public.
Along the way, as the steam builds towards the 2026 polls, what have been your observations so far?
There's voter apathy. People are no longer interested in elections, basically, because they tend to think that now politics doesn't add value to them. It has reached that extent. So you might see one of the lowest voter turnout in this election. There is nothing to inspire them to go to the polls because they tend to think it's going to be the very same thing they have been experiencing. And it's because the political space has been narrowed down by both the people in the media, by trying to draw a narrative that it's a contest between, I would call it rubbish and garbage. Yes, rubbish and garbage.
Has it been anywhere in the media that people have been reduced or given the description of rubbish?
Because whenever we are here, people are not asked about their ideas that they hope to front. I've been following what media is discussing. You're only discussing the internal rifts in parties, the deployment of money, but leaders have not been put to account what values and ideas they have to move our nation from a third world to a first world. So it's a contest between garbage and rubbish.
Are trends speaking to a unique election, or the country is just braced for another cycle of an election routine?
Every 5 years, the taxpayer foots a bill of about $500 million in elections, from printing ballots, display of voters' registers, a 2-year cycle of elections, from special interest groups, LCs, whatever it is, to elect a parliament, then form an executive, then lower councils, etc., and local government. The question should be, is it worth that we should spend over 1.5 trillion shillings, which is about 500 to 700, it's tuned about 500 to 700 million dollars, leave alone the expenditure that is meted by the candidates who participate in elections, which should sit to about $1.2 billion. So if candidates included and the government through the taxpayers, through the Electoral Commission, bear a cost of not less than $1.2 billion in order to determine their leaders every 5 years. That means for every cycle of 20 years, the country has spent over $5.6 billion and more, a minimum of that. So what sort of country is that? It's not geared for development. The question we should ask is one, how have the elections impacted the ordinary person? And I don't want an answer now from you. Have you helped? Have they changed anything in your lifestyle? If Njala is elected or President Museveni is elected, how has the ordinary life of a person changed? For having elected in the last 5 years, having had a parliament of 526 leaders, having had district chairpersons, councillors, etc. We should audit what is the impact of politics vis-a-vis personal development, community development, and national development. With a country that has no vision, we have no mission, we don't have a collective strategy, and we don't deploy the right tactics in achieving the vision. You've heard every country has a vision. Vision 2040, Vision 2050, and it's a shared vision. If you ask those that are assembled at Nambole, that what is the
at Kololo,
that what is your vision? They will say, no, there is an old man with a vision. President Museveni has the vision. Because they don't know where we're going. And the question has been set out clearly with answers. It is only a fool that follows without asking where you're going, that only asks how far. The bulk of the people participating in politics, who must determine, ladies and gentlemen, who are viewing us from wherever you're viewing us, a politician is the person that determines your well-being and holds the glue that holds, the integral part, what we call the state. They hold the glue through legislation, creation of laws and policies that impact the ordinary man.
Yeah, but
so you ask the trader today, You understand? The ordinary man who walks out of home is taxed through their businesses, through their sweat. They don't have a job, they are educating their children expensively, and their children have no hope for the future. And you tell them what is the impact of politics on your general well-being.
Yeah, but Honorable Nsereko, do you think it's too little, too late for the country to get onto the drawing board and look at elections and their relevance to the populace?
Yes.
As we head to 2026,
yes,
is it time to see?
Yes, the ordinary person has to do that and say, I mean, of what benefit is the person I'm going to elect? Because Simon Kagwanjala, right now, how does a child who has gone through COVID, 18-year-old now, has sat O-level through a new curriculum, look back and think that the Ministry of Education has now told him, we have no curriculum for you for A-level? You understand what I'm saying? What do you think what that sort of nation is?